Live streaming is on.
Okay, we're back here at the World from Here. Thanks for joining us, everyone, across the globe. We've got people tuning in here from Mauritius, from India, obviously Canada, and all over the world. Southern California, which sounds pretty good to me right now since it's been so cold here in Denver, but it doesn't matter. In the U.S., it seems like
they're in Texas, right?
Yeah, if you're in Texas, you've got snow and cold, probably even cold in your house right now. But thanks for joining us. We're back again. As one person said, the pilgrimage on Friday. So I'm Dan Gay. I'm the Chief Marketing Officer here at BlockCerts Blockchain. And I am joined by Tim Vasko, who's our Chief Executive Officer, our Chief Architect, and founder of BlockCerts Blockchain. Good morning to you, Tim.
Morning, Dan, and thanks for always being here today. It's my favorite part of the week.
It's mine too, and it seems like weeks just fly by, and all of a sudden we're like, "Oh my God, we've got this call tomorrow," and it's always pretty exciting to me. So, and then we have Daniele Mensi, who's going to be really the highlighted speaker today, because we've got some exciting things to talk about in terms of matchmaking in business. So I'll just put that out there. So Daniele is the President of FusionSTX and Fusion Funder. Good evening to you, since you're coming to us from Italy, Daniele.
Thank you, Dan. A pleasure to be here as always. So it's Friday. So pumped to talk about Fusion Funder and what's going on in the space.
Yeah, that's exciting. You know, today we're talking about convergence, the convergence of capital and technology. Really the two components that every business needs to succeed. And it's not just technology, but new technology and what is really changing the world in terms of truly going digital. And this morning we're going to talk about, as I said, matchmaking. So kind of the e-harmony of capital and tech, and putting businesses in a marriage for the future to allow them to scale. So Tim, first off, to kind of kick this off, I know you've got some things that you want to start us off here. Why don't you tell us about what that means to you?
Well, actually, Dan, I love that you used the word convergent, because this journey for me goes back to 1997. Okay, so a long time. And my very first research project in the university, when I was working on my PhD with MBA students, was convergent media, 1997. Wow. Okay, so this isn't something that happened overnight. I love the saying, it takes a very long time to be an overnight success. That's how long it's taken for me, and to see this all actually coming together in a way that technology and money and business models merge is amazing. And you know, certainly today with the pandemic and the lockdowns and everything that's happened in the last year, when we started the World from Here almost a year ago now, wow. A year ago next month, we started our podcast. And we started talking about what the world from here was going to be like with all this uncertainty. What we're starting to see is certainty. And the one thing that is for certain is convergence in the most real sense is here. And that takes a new kind of infrastructure and a new kind of build that from what we call the cloud to what I'll call space. A new theory of space and economics in spaces. So think about it like this, Dan. Think about when you went out to start a business, what's the first thing you looked for in the old world?
Well, you
look for an office space, right?
Right.
Office space. So it's no longer about cloud technologies and all the cloud out there. That's an infrastructure that got us to this point. But what we have to think about is that whole structure, that whole infrastructure that is spatial in its nature. And we call it We called it when we wrote our patent, when I wrote my patents in 2010, 2011, and we got it in 2015 and 2018, secure virtual space technology. So if you think of it from an enterprise level, these big corporations, law firms are a perfect example. I always love to walk into a law firm and think about how much higher the hourly rate's going to be depending on the amount of marble that's sitting on the floor. And these spaces would be amazing spaces. And we'd see it, you walk in and you get a whole floor. And that's all there to not only house the business of law or accounting or whatever services it is, but also to impress the clients and meet the clients. That's infrastructure, and it's expensive infrastructure, and you pay a lot for rent now. Well, what the big businesses are discovering is, hey, those spaces are empty. Like that infrastructure is there, but it's not being used. So when you ask me what does convergence mean, it means this idea of getting out of individual technology tools, things like our Excel spreadsheets and our Word documents and all those that worked pretty well when we had this other infrastructure supporting us.
Right.
Now they're cluttered. They're outdated, just like those empty office spaces are outdated. That business model's gone, probably gone forever.
Well, and Tim, just a couple statistics to throw in there. Like Stanford did a study, followed 9,000 people that work from home, and found out that the productivity gains of those companies was between 13 and 15% of those people working from home. And now executives, 70% are saying that at least 50% of the workforce in the future will work from home. And the virtual reality of what our reality has been in the last year is going to be the reality in the future.
That's right. That's right. And so when we talk about convergence, we talk about infrastructure, then we think about, well, productivity. How do we measure that? How do we make people more productive and successful at home? Right? Exactly. How do we secure ourselves? What's that infrastructure look like? How do we protect all of those distributed environments out there? And
how do we manage?
How do we manage?
Oh my God, how do we manage people across the world? Yeah.
Across the world, across time zones, across locations. How do we manage devices? How do we make sure a device doesn't get hacked and then come into our ecosystem? And that's just the beginning.
Right.
That's just the beginning. And we will talk about that in our series to come. But today we're talking with Daniele about Fusion Funder and FusionFunder.com. And I'm so excited because we have, and I don't know the exact number, and I'm not going to steal any of Daniele's thunder, but we have these incredible businesses that are out there that have already come up on Fusion Funder and are looking at how do I form my business so that I can not only operate it as a true digital business with trust, truth, and transparency as we do at BlockCerts, but also as a business that can work compliantly to find the vendors and capital and people that I need to run a successful business, whether that be staff or team members or supporters of my business. So that's what Fusion Funder's about. And when you say matchmaking, that's what we're talking about, is bringing all those people who typically would show up at your office space into your digital space, and how all those little things fit together in a seamless way that we can run truly new, innovative digital business models. So Daniele, that's what convergence means to me.
Absolutely. So what happens right now, I mean, when I say right now, I'm talking about in these hours. We live in technology cycles that go at the speed of light. So just to give you just an example, so until last week, we were talking about DeFi, on Ethereum as being the big new stuff which was going on. And while this week, people talking DeFi and say DeFi in Ethereum was last week, while this week is DeFi on Binance chain. But at the end of the day, so this means the cycle moving so quick that if you want to run a business, So typically all the businesses have the same problem, especially at the very early stage of the business, in a so-called seed stage, when they're willing to inject the first bunch of capital to scale and to grow, to build actually a product, to build a functioning business model. And most of the companies, what they're willing to get first is money to start doing it. But there is one piece that we always repeating, that it's probably more important than the money you can get by whoever, friends, fools, and families, which is how you build your business model, how you engineer it, even before how much money you need. Right now, no one can have competences to understand on how to engineer this from the top, meaning from the application layer, to the bottom, which is so-called the settlement layer. And I can be more specific. So people saying, I have an idea on running a business, whatever the business is. Let's say I want to sell a product online in a platform that provides whatever a competitive edge. But then, and I want to use the blockchain because the blockchain is nice, because people believe blockchain is the next big thing. So why are we talking with people mentioning these points, the gap between the application, so where the company, has the focus of their business model, whatever they're doing, online platform, whatever it is, and the bottom, which is the settlement, in between 4 layers that have to be addressed. And people believe that with the money, with the capital that came injected in the company, then the company has the capacity and the knowledge and the tools and the skills to address all this. And if not, then buy kind of a SaaS software, cloud-based, to fill the gap. What is the end result of this? The end result is there's a lot of money, 2 years has gone, and in between the world has changed. And the reality is that the founders sit down and say, how can I move it forward? Because 2 years is 2 years of my time and my money. So the true
Daniele, specifically, talk a little bit about Ethereum, and like if I wanted to go out and use Ethereum and create a business model in the blockchain on Ethereum, talk a little bit about what that might take. And by the way, you cut out slightly there, so explain that layer again, because your audio cut out just slightly.
Yeah, what I was saying is that Ethereum, if we think about Ethereum as a blockchain, one of the most known public blockchain, Ethereum is just a settlement layer. So it's like the base, the foundation of a building is at the bottom.
It's like an operating system.
It's like an operating system. So, and if you have an idea of running your business, whatever it is, an online platform to sell whatever product, then you are on the application layer, okay, or the aggregation layer, okay? It doesn't really matter whether you run a standalone platform or an aggregation like Amazon. But in between the aggregation, the application layer, and the settlement, there are at least 2 layers in between, which are the protocol layer and the asset layer. The protocol layer, for example, in the blockchain space is represented by exchanges, by loans platform, by derivatives platform, by asset management platform. Those are the protocol layer. While on the asset layer, you have the token layer, the so-called ERC20, ERC721, even a Bitcoin, okay, as a token can be considered as an asset layer. And underneath, you have the blockchain, that is the settlement layer, that is Ethereum. So if you run your business from the top, then you need to get to the bottom, and you need to address all those layers together. So if you have a clear strategy and you know how to master it, that's fine. But this is of a huge complexity because it's changing at the speed of light. Or better choice, better value for money is I aggregate my competence at the top, and then I API my business model. I re-engineer in the API fashion my business model so as I can touch any settlement layer without figuring out what is the complexity in between. Fusion Funder, at the end of the day, is a platform that aggregates this business model engineering knowledge in a so-called matchmaking technology. So as once a company is willing to raise capital, the problem is not raising capital itself. The problem is how to engineer a business model so as every dollar that comes in in the company is spent wisely and efficiently.
And that you can raise that capital jurisdictionally in compliance, so you are matching the regulations in that jurisdiction as well, right?
That's correct. So because raising capital, it's one element, but raising smart capital with a jurisdictional focus is even better. In my life, it happened several times, to go through international tip, to go in some fancy places all over the world, to showcase a project, to present to potential shareholder or to potential stakeholders of a project, and creating an interest. But right now, first of all, I don't want to travel as I used to. So I would like to explain, being a founder, my project to people that might add value to my project. So that's number one. So I need the tool to matchmake this. But I don't want just to meet random people. I want to meet vetted people. So that's why the KYC is very important into this process. I need to know to whom I'm talking to via kind of a KYC, the process. And number two is that I just want to make sure that this discussion flows with legitimacy back and forth. I don't want to talk to anyone about anything about my project. So that's why I need not only to have next point, because I need to address all those layers which I just mentioned before, but I just want also to interact and liaise with people with trust and transparency.
And Daniele, your internet is going in and out a little bit at the end of it. Just
your internet's is a bit choppy, but let's
fine.
do this. What I'd like to do is introduce FusionFunder.com, and maybe you can talk about some of these business models that are coming up, Daniele, and let's get a good view of what we're doing. So I'll do an introduction. Welcome to FusionFunder.com. FusionFunder is establishing regulatory frameworks as well as doing matchmaking. We're starting in Canada with applications for licenses in Canada, where I am, and Daniele is in Europe. And we've got these incredible projects that are on the platform across from the BlockCerts Be Certain apps and all of those things, including privacy and regulation and all the things you can do to build these amazing projects. So Daniele, maybe you can talk a little bit about each project, about how we are structuring these innovators who have taken the steps to build global digital business models and prepare their companies in what we call our built for equity format, and structure properly so that everything can really take off and grow at lightning speed.
Yeah, hopefully my internet is good.
It sounds good. Yeah, it looks good.
I hope it stays. So all the projects that have been onboarded in the platform have a central element on which they have developed their journey so far and the way forward, which is technology. I mean, technology means anything. But if we start from the first on the left, which is Infinity Circle, Infinity Circle is a wealth management platform, and which at the essence want to build a brand new wealth ecosystem leveraging technology. Blockchain will come at a later stage, but the key value that Elizabeth Dana, which is the founder of the project, has created out of this is to create a truly digital ecosystem centered on wealth. And right now, I think also in our channels, we have been spending quite some time discussing about digital wealth, digital gold, what Bitcoin is doing, and what other systems are doing. So when we talk about Bitcoin, we're talking about wealth, we're talking about store of value. And this platform is very, very interesting because it's a regulated platform that is linked to FusionFunder to matchmake with technology to stake and shareholder of a project. So we're very, very happy to liaise with Elizabeth Dana with Infinity Circle into FusionFunder towards potential stakeholders and shareholders of the project. WillyPay it's a very interesting project because it's a payment, essentially is a payment platform, which is essentially focused on a niche market in Africa. The founder, Lionel Bernard, which comes from the US, but he's very knowledgeable about Africa. So they have obtained the first chunk of license in Liberia. And obviously, they want to expand globally, starting from Africa. And essentially, it's a mobile-first payment platform to address mostly retail clients with tech fashion. So, and the goal of WillyPay is the same as Infinity. So Fusion aggregates interest in the project from all standpoints, leveraging technology.
And Daniele, on that point, it dovetails nicely into our project with Columbia University and DFSO and the Gates Foundation, because over 1.5 billion people are unbanked. And with Lionel and what he's doing, he's erasing lines so that people can do mobile banking, and you don't have to actually walk into a place to register. You can order it online, and pretty exciting to see what he's doing, and it really fits with what we're doing, and that's to help new businesses and eradicate a lot of the poverty that's out there, and just a great mission that he's on. All of these companies for sure. But.
Yeah, it's a super hot project and topic that we also cover into a live stream that we're gonna get next week on Thursday. We've been invited also with Columbia University with Keith to a very nice event that we will cover to our Telegram channel, YouTube channel, and Twitter channel. So stay tuned, because on the 23rd. We have a very nice coverage. Essentially, we will talk to the alliance of the mobile operators worldwide. From the top guys, T-Mobile and the others, and we're gonna talk with Tim and Keith about regulation and other stuff in the blockchain space. And obviously, we want to touch also talking about mobile payments, because telco operators essentially they're talking about and discussing about how to implement effective mobile payment solutions and integrate into their core infrastructure. And I call it layer 2, so something easier than what telco used to do. So it will be very interesting for our community to be part of this webinar, because there will be most of the telcos in the world listening to us. So and the tips and the inspirations we're going to give them. Yeah.
And speaking of space, let's talk about the next project that's here. As you're talking, I'm thinking about the satellites and space, and satellites for rent. And I think what we're hearing is this idea of how these digital projects, how these projects are both innovative and digital and have global impact. So let's talk about space.
Yes. So this is a completely different project, because we touched wealth management, we touched wealth, we touched tech or mobile payments, and now we're talking about aerospace. So, which is a very different topic. And this is, again, it's very important to mention. Most of either matchmaking platform or whatever other similar platforms in the space, they focus on some verticals. Say, for example, green, say blockchain, say DeFi, or money, whatever it is. So our goal here is to be open and transparent. So if a project that is coming from whatever industry is leveraging technology, it wants to really bring their idea forward, leveraging on technology, and it's coming from an industry we never heard about it, why we should say we specialized on ABC. Anyone should have the fair amount of chance to succeed, and we don't want to restrict people from succeeding. That's why, so here you have just 3, but in the future might have 100 type of different projects and industries that we focused at. We don't want to specialize on tree because we have people coming from those industry only, but we want to be very open so everyone can have a spot in the platform. So Exodus, it's very, very unique again project as the others on a different field because it's a truly satellite as a service platform. So this means anyone can get a piece of a satellite and run a business model on top of this piece in a very cost efficient and a very effective manner. This is amazing what these guys have engineered, and what is the way forward of a project. We're very happy to build with Exodus a path for us having the project succeeding in the future.
And Daniele, it's so exciting to me because it opens up space and a whole new segment that wasn't there before, because in the past it was only reserved for the largest of enterprises, and now on the fly you could rent an orbit at as low as like $500. So even hobbyists can get in. Just universities doing studies, all kinds of different applications for this. So pretty exciting.
And so when you think about it, we talk about AWS or Azure for space, and as I discussed earlier, Dan, the idea that the new world is this idea of spatial technology, space, and it seems really out there. But let's just use an example: Texas. It's freezing. We need to quickly assess where those wind generators are going down or gas plants are going down and look at atmospheric conditions so we can now come back with earthbound solutions so this doesn't happen again. That kind of thing is where when you get an app up in space and you can look back at the Earth, is a very practical solution. We've talked before about things that happen all the time with hailstorms for insurance claims, or I heard a really cool one, which is where universities are researching archaeology, and it's called space archaeology actually, and what they're actually doing is looking back at the Earth and saying, where might this hidden city be that we can actually see? And they can determine that by watching through orbits the changes in growth over seasons and see how something might have grown over an entire city or what have you. So these apps that can now be delivered and developed in space are coming, and they've got very practical purposes. Think of things like self-driving cars, road mapping. So it's space looking back down on the world we live in, or even as we start measuring traveling and watching things like we're going to have to do with a post-COVID world. So this is a very important and big future of where technology is headed, and Exodus is really on the leading edge of that, working with the European Space Agency, already with examples up in space. So really exciting project to be out there and doing. Now we can come back down to Earth and something we know about. And we can talk a little bit about mortgages and the LenderKey project. And I'll go ahead and talk about LenderKey since I've been intimately involved in that. And mortgages, it says mortgages have changed and the way that the world needs to operate has changed. Well, really what we're talking about here is we're talking about what I like to call, and we've been working on this for quite a while, it's launching in a couple of weeks, the truest of smart contracts, the truest of eliminating waste, eliminating fraud, eliminating delays between all these different people that need to get a mortgage, all these different entities that need to get a mortgage. So from the person who's buying a home, entering validated single source of truth data, tying directly to banks, to their property search on MLS, to their mortgage agent, to their real estate agent, and doing that all seamlessly while they're literally sitting at their desktop or their mobile application, and we know it's that person. We've eliminated any identity fraud. We've eliminated any PDF, Photoshop fraud of documents. We've eliminated, on the other side, the mortgage agent and the brokerage firm, all of the delays and double entry, and revalidating that those documents are actually real, which then go to a third layer, which is the lender, or in this case, usually the commercial banks that are lending this, that have to go further and do all the underwriting and think about all the conversations that have to happen today with, and the tools being used are things like spreadsheets and word processing and email and PDFs, and all of that's eliminated. That's a true infrastructure build. In addition to that, we can actually use something like the technology you're looking at right now, which is a private video room, just like you might if you were in that office space, right? We can do a showing online of the house, so we know it's the subject property, and we can take that all the way through from the very first time somebody starts to go buy a project or refinance it to completely digitally letting that entire appraisal process and everything happen within a single platform. And you have, it's as easy as instant messaging and video chat to get the whole thing done. And you e-sign it right there. And it's all hashed on the blockchain. So you've got a full transaction of where this all happened. That's incredible. It's been an incredible project to build. I am really excited about this one. The mortgage map and some of the innovations that the LenderKey team have come up with, like how you actually know, a big one is the gig economy. How do you actually know people's incomes are what they are when they're working for 5 different companies, maybe all over the world, right? This is a new reality in fintech, and this is a real fintech project. This is such a huge build and such a huge fintech project, and it takes a massive amount of infrastructure to do that. And that's what LenderKey is about. It's been exciting to see the BlockCerts infrastructure be able to be used here because it was so much that if that infrastructure didn't exist, as Daniele said with Ethereum, if we started with an operating system, this would have been a 2-year, 3-year project. It's still not out in the marketplace. There's a reason. So it's been a personal project for me to be really excited about. And LenderKey is just something that provide project and seed certain platform. And that one is all about supply chain. When we explored the cannabis market, we explored the need for strict compliance, all these rules, a major emerging market that affects everything from healthcare to recreational marijuana, which is entertainment, and tons of laws and complexity. And we looked at this and said, what an incredible market with literally every single business problem you could imagine, and putting that on top of the BlockCerts framework and the infrastructure. So this has been a long-term project. It's been built out over about the last year to streamline all of that into a reportable, manageable, cost containment solution. And now what we think, and we're going to see, is a lot of this as an example for things like world food supplies. Where is food coming from? How do we make sure it's compliant? How do we make sure we're secured? Or if we're dealing with a medical condition, how is it private? And now, Dan, you're seeing a lot of that come up with COVID. How do we make sure our records of our vaccines, of our immunity, things like that, are private? And actually, my wife said, "Oh, I heard this really interesting podcast about how to keep your COVID records private." And I said, "Well, maybe you should listen to ours sometime. We talked about that last March." So why don't you listen to your husband's? But There you go. Like trying to teach your wife to drive, bad idea. But but the point is that we have these really cool technologies and really cool projects. Daniele, this one is kind of up your in your area, Good Italia. Speaking of foodstuffs and speaking about really what that all means.
I just want to say this because it was on the first on the left. And I didn't want Jonathan, the founder, to see, hey, I'm on the first. It's not the first project. I'm just joking. So in fact, Good Italia, yes, it's a great project. Actually, the founder, Jonathan Silvestri, is from Italy, but is both Italian and British, with a very, very British accent, and very nice one, actually. And what they're doing, it's great because somehow very few people that are not Italians know that Italy have a very niche food product. So for example, if we think about wine, and if you go in the US, if you think about, for example, Chianti, which where I'm coming from, actually, the Florence region, Chianti seems to be, one of the best wine. But Chianti is, it's a good wine. It's an average one in Italy. So if you want to drink something very, very special, Chianti, unless you know exactly which production year and from which producer, Chianti per se doesn't mean anything. It's just a generic brand. What this guy is doing is that they select very niche, super premium product, and they bring via their online platform delivery up to scale. And they considering also to use blockchain as a technology to give to create transparency and to build authenticity out of the brands they're willing to promote their products towards the platform. But from what I understood from them, talking to them, the market in the UK, the spending per client, per retail in the UK is the highest in the world. I didn't know that. I thought US probably. So they're addressing UK as the entry market. And obviously they want to scale globally, but they have built a very nice supply chain model to connect with the producers in each region, in each place in Italy. They aggregated all these competence and products into the platform, and they engineer delivery system, mostly to the UK and to the rest of Europe. It's very, very beautiful to
and Daniele, my wife's last name is Graziano, so I'm familiar with that. But it's amazing to me because this truly is another business model that's really focused on the future, and authenticity is really important for most goods and services. And Italian foods and Italian luxury items, etc., have a lot of fraud. And to make sure that you're getting authentic products is a huge benefit. And then also, living in Denver, for example, we don't have a lot of solutions. You go to a grocery store, there are 3 or 4 different types of pastas versus going and actually going to the specific region where pastas taste very much different because of the soils, the water, etc. It's much like wine.
So as you bring up, Dan, you mentioned fraud. And so I think this is a good time to jump into the Digital Financial Services Observatory project. And we're super excited about this project because this is what we talk about when we say infrastructure and we say making things transparent and creating new standards. Not only does a new spatial thought need to be happen in the world, but think about entering that bank. Think about all those cameras around a bank when you used to go to your bank branch, or think about entering the vault, right, in the bank and all the security there. Think about entering the high rises in New York when you used to go to your high rises and you had to show your ID. That effectively is a physical world KYC. That is a physical world. I know that you are the person you're representing to be. Let me check your backpack. All of these things that we discovered for making our physical spaces secure and making our transactions secure. How many times do you get that that PIN code across your phone, your mobile phone, before you can make a transfer and things like that? So when we started looking at what's the world going to be like for a global digital financial services, Columbia University, the University's Institute for Teleinformation, are called CITI, Columbia, started this project back in 2015, 2016, but as early as 2010, Dan, they were looking at M-Pesa in Kenya and what digital global economics might look like. So this is a very long-term project. The Gates Foundation has backed it with generous grants from the Gates Foundation, and we're super excited to be the BlockCerts be the blockchain company and the infrastructure company that's able to help the DFSO come forward and really bring this into the commercial world. So
yeah, it's an exciting project, Tim, and especially, as you said, there's so much that has been put into this already, and now riding the rails of BlockCerts, and now really expanding across the world on all the research and everything that's there to provide it to companies like WheeliePay and to others out there, and big businesses. So we want to welcome those that would like to get involved in this project, because it's truly an amazing opportunity for small, medium, and large-sized businesses.
That's right, and it's interesting that it's from Columbia University's Institute of Teleinformation, or CITI, because I want to point out that, as Daniele said, in a week we're going to be on with all the telcos in the world, and the largest infrastructure for delivering digital is mobile, right? So when we look at this, we have to think that every one of these devices, every one we're using, whether it's this brand, which is an iPhone, or it's this brand, which is an Android, that's the largest operating system in the world. And now, how do we incorporate that? These are actually computers we hold in our hands. And how do we incorporate that into our daily lives? We use them for lots of things. Now we're using them for how we make a living and how we create the safety and security around that. So this is really important technology. It's an important project, and we really encourage everybody to come back to this project and be part of that. And that comes back to kind of what we're doing with our BlockCerts and Be Certain D apps. This idea of creating spatial technology, of utilities, true utilities from everything, and containerizing that in the type of cloud that you actually own your space, and you own your data, and you own your infrastructure. This is a complete transformation of thinking about the way the global cloud ecosystem has emerged. What has happened with software as a service is we've seen big businesses become multi-trillion-dollar businesses and drive most of their revenues through cloud computing or through data that those centralized authorities own. So this is near and dear to my heart, of course, because I've built so many businesses where I said, well, why am I creating value for you? And then you can just turn me off, literally turn me off, and or control and use my data to drive your business. We look at things like what we're doing right now with YouTube is we fill it up with content, and that content is actually owned and controlled as soon as we do this for a good reason. There's a huge amount of value to that, but there's also a huge amount of control that we lose over our content when we put it up on the cloud. And for private business transactions, that's maybe not the best business model in the world.
Right.
So we talk about transparency, we talk about trust and truth, But transparency doesn't mean give up all your secrets. It means creating a business model flow that matches all of those rules, regulations, and maybe even what our customers need to know about us, but maybe we don't want our competitors to know about us. So back to your point earlier, Daniele, about building an infrastructure that can do all of that and allow you to maintain sovereignty over the business you're building. Can you do that today in cloud-based technology as it exists today? And the answer is no, you cannot. You automatically, when you go put up a Shopify cart, Shopify has all your products, all your data, and they control what you can and can't do on that cart. And not only that, it's a cart. That's it. If you want to go do video, you now want to serve your customers by video, go get an API to another company, maybe a Zoom or somebody else that provides video. So you're now segmenting into these multiple layers instead of creating your own collaborative rubric. And I used this in one of our webinars, podcasts earlier, but it's like a rubric cube. Rubric cubes are actual analog algorithms that we do as humans. And figuring out how to make all those sides one color by a computer took 36 years. It took 36 years to do that. Well, if you have 36 years to do that, go ahead and use current cloud technology, and maybe you'll get there. But if not, take it from what now we can prove to do on a Rubik's Cube in 20 moves. That's what we're about with Fusion Funder. That's also what we're about with the Be Certain apps. We've done all the work. I've been at this for literally 20 years. And that's why you asked me about convergence. That's why I'm excited about it, Dan, because today we're launching what it means to build true business models. And I'm super excited about this list of all these companies who see that power and are embracing it and saying, this is how we're going to launch our business in the new world. It's incredible to see that people, and it takes courage. It's a bold move. It's like back in 1999 or 98 when somebody said, I'm putting up a website, and companies were like, what for? Right?
Right.
and so we're seeing these massive new opportunities in digital business models coming up that really are relying on this power that's possible when you put all those pieces together, and you have these crazy, great opportunities, from good food to going to space to doing wealth advising and a structure to do that in. That's what Fusion Funder is about. So Daniele, congratulations. It's super exciting to work with you and to build this and to see these things come up as this infrastructure as a service model we've got here at BlockCerts really emerges. And Fusion Funder itself is a completely incredible new way to look at how opportunities are designed and really built out there, where that used to happen in the halls of venture capitalists and little accelerators that only the elite got to look at. Now you're bringing that out to the world to start getting people in on the early ground floor of some of these groundbreaking business models.
Well, and just looking at, Infinity Circle with Elizabeth Dana, and, the wealth is concentrated for so few, and she's got a platform that allows wealth creation and wealth management for the rest of us. And Beyond Pink, which I know is coming on board, that from India, is an exciting new project, and many others out there too. So it's just exciting.
Yeah, Beyond Pink. I just wanted to cover Beyond Pink because the project that we have already onboarded in the backend. Now we're putting live in the front as well. So big shout to the founder, to Bindu, because the project is great, and it's, at least in my eyes, is the first project of its kind, which is a curated app that is born in India, that curate content focused for female, from business,
Yeah.
for women, from business to money to finance to anything. So it's very interesting to cover this topic for women specifically, because at the end of the day, for me, it gives another option. It gives a plurality of information, plurality of choice. So I'm very happy to have a founder like Bindonair, like Beyond App, which is a project. It's not important the project is for female. The project is important because it opens up opportunities for females, for entrepreneurs, for people that want to have same level of opportunities. And I'm very much encouraging projects like this.
And the largest opportunity, or the largest group of entrepreneurs in the world, which isn't well known, are female.
Absolutely.
There, in most countries, if you actually look at it, the women population has more impact on income in the world than any male population. So when we look at this and we look at what the rights are and all of the equal pay, I'm in a family of 4 daughters, and I really and 2 sisters, and so I'm surrounded by brilliant women, and I feel very fortunate to see when these kinds of projects come up that they do open opportunities and start creating this new level of thinking when we start looking at gender and we look at these broader pictures. So things like building better foundations of security also have to look at how do we eliminate certain biases that have been built into our business models in the past. And that's what it also excites me about the bigger picture of why we're here. It's handing back to people a fair opportunity that is completely there, and showing them how to do it. And then what? You've changed the game. You've taken a lot of that centralized power away, whether it be a gender-based power, an old boys club, or a data power. All these halls of power are really shifting. Even the idea of how underwriting is done for loaning, borrowing money on mortgages and whatever, capital for businesses. When you shift those kinds of things, you create a better ecosystem, a more fair and balanced ecosystem. This isn't about anarchy. It's actually about creating a more level playing field.
Well, and Tim, it really goes to the core thread of what we're about as a company, which is trust, truth, and transparency in everything that we do. So whether it's fighting, famine, or with all of these new business models, equity and jobs, and all the things that we're talking about, it's just very exciting to be that this is bigger than ourselves.
Well, it's what gets me up in the morning, Dan, and I get up very early in the morning to do this, and I do it for many hours a day, and so do you and Daniele and all of our teams at BlockCerts, and working with these companies is super exciting to see actual implementation of these business models. So when we start thinking about it from a perspective of anybody who might be watching this, what I'm going to say is we do this like 10, 12, 14, 16 hours a day. We do this. We actually do it 24/7, 365, because we are all over the world with 5 continents and I think 11 countries now working on the platform at BlockCerts. And these use cases are coming up all the time. So one of the cool parts about Fusion Funder is you can go register on any one of those projects, any one of them, or on the site, and you can start watching and making decisions about, well, what's my place in this world? And you talk about matchmaking, Dan. That's what we really mean. This isn't limited to anybody. A lot of this exploration of this new world is just getting involved, just getting the information. It starts there. Think about a search. Think about that last time you did a search. That's how search emerged, is I got involved, and then all of a sudden something came up in my peripheral vision that I hadn't thought about before. So it's a lot about getting your head into the space of infrastructure as a service technology, the space of this new environment of digital business, digital economy, and digital rights, and all of those kinds of things. Once you're in that space, you now all of a sudden will start realizing, this is what I can do for my business. This is what I can do for my future in my livelihood, or what have you, as investments, things like those things like Infinity Circle, Wealth Platform, those kinds of things that will be part of this. So this is a knowledge environment growing that you've built, Daniele, and it's really exciting to see that that knowledge is being applied in so many different ways.
Yeah, and this is if we see from the macro, so from the outside in, so what we are doing actually is to aggregate interest of projects, ideas, funders in a platform. But in the mid to long term, what is going to happen on top of this aggregation, this layer, so every single project will have a route, I call it route to technology, to build technology. Okay, so right now this configuration does not exist. So if you think about, for example, Ethereum 2.0, so the next level, so Internet 3.0. So as long as a project fits into this technology assessment, it's ready to be injected into the new technology ecosystem. So what obviously we're doing, we talk a lot about, blockchain, we talk about a lot DeFi and all the other stuff. There are tons of things we're doing behind the scenes, because any of these projects will become eligible from a tech standpoint, not from a due diligence standpoint, because they already are, otherwise they were not there, to go to the next technology frontiers, building, for example, a route to a new DeFi ecosystem because of whatever reason, okay? So, but as long as the foundation is right, all that comes next, it will be for us a very nice development to do along with those projects. So I'm very, very happy and very pumped to stay tuned on what's going on all along the cycles with these projects, because there's tons of technology developments we're going to do together.
And, I'd like to point out that as we end the hour, that the idea of coming into an environment and learning and following all these things is what starts building community. So we all know what community does. And we saw that with GameStop, I think our last webinar, when we talked about GameStop, we see the power of community. And that's really what Fusion Funder is about. It's about this framework that we have at Be Certain and BlockCerts. It's building a community that will bring a new level of power to economics. And how that shapes up, well, there's only one way to be part of that, is to join the community and to actually follow what's happening, so you become knowledgeable. Knowledge is power. We know that. It's a common phrase, and we're about creating that knowledge. We're about creating those thoughts. And as you point out, Dan, we're about creating this trustonomic, I always say that, but this trustonomic environment, because we've got trustonomics, we got DeFi-onomics, and soon, in the next week or so, if you join us, you're going to hear about an incredible Influence-onomics project that we're working on, that no spoiler alerts, just register and get on board, follow us on YouTube, register with Fusion Funder, and learn along with us, because this is happening. It's happening right now in real functional, foundational ways.
And I just want to say, so my last statement, promise. So the whole cryptocurrency market reached today 1.6 trillion. Many think, this is over, the peak is gone. And I don't care whether the peak is gone or not. That's not the point. My point is that the opportunity that we have in front is in the quadrillion space. If we sum up the internet of value that we're bringing, on the true level of the economy where we are positioned at. So looking at this, I'm rather looking at the opportunity which is in the quadrillion space, rather than saying, hey, the Bitcoin, the Ethereum, whatever is tackling 1.6 trillion, even 10 trillion market cap, which is the goal, the market cap. Right now, the opportunities we have in front is in the quadrillion. We should not miss the chance to start. This journey doesn't stop tomorrow. It's lasting over time. The key is to go along the cycles and be onto the technology trajectory to scale and grow. Here we are.
Well, Daniele, to that end, just real quick story. I see this as just deja vu. Date myself. Tim was an early cloud pioneer. I was in telecommunications, and most people don't know this, but the internet really it came out in about 1983. It was really reserved within the space and universities and research, et cetera. But it wasn't until the early 1990s that with email and other solutions that it started to peak, or not even peak, really begin and expand. And this is just such a similar setup to what happened back in the early 90s with
There's just one
internet.
difference. There's just one difference.
Yeah.
We're going to have to wait till next week to hear that because his internet cut
Right,
out.
There is internet. No, can you hear me? What I was saying
Yeah,
is
so
that
we
when
can
the
hear you.
internet,
We're on the edge of our seats. We're wondering
there's
what's
one.
the difference.
What's the difference?
yeah, what the difference is that when the internet was born, there was no internet, while now there is internet. So the speed of growth right now, it's way faster.
And
Absolutely.
And I'll point out to your point too, Daniele, that this is the beginning. I was around, again, dating ourselves seems to be the thing to do, but I was around when the internet started. I was a university professor at the beginning. That's when I left the university full time and came back into business. I had been in business, went to university, went back into the business, and .com hit. And it went fast, and then it crashed. Guess who was there? Amazon. Guess who else was there? Microsoft, Google, Apple. They were all there. This was what we rely on today was there. Facebook didn't even come out until 2006, long after that all had happened, right?
Right.
So as you point out, Daniele, we're in this as an organization that's looking at the long-term impact of what this next wave actually is. We've said it before. We said it before COVID. COVID has definitely accelerated this. Definitely. It's accelerated. I love today maybe more than anything else because people finally understand what I'm talking about. Even my kids go, "Oh, Dad, I get it." My 20-year-old daughter the other day said, "Those smart contract things, that's pretty cool." I'm like, "Oh, it's pretty cool in 2014 too." Right?
Yeah.
So it's so exciting to be here, but this is such the beginning. And what if you had been involved in Amazon in 1998, right? Or Microsoft or any of them. Just pick one. Just pick one. It's about finding that space that you'll be in 5 years from now, 10 years from now, and saying, "Man, I'm glad I got involved." So when I say this, I'm not just saying it lightly, and I'm not just saying it because we do want you to subscribe or register. We do. We're building our community. We're building our supporters, but do it for yourself. Don't do it for us. Do it yourself. Get as much information and knowledge as you can today, because that's the business of the future. That's the world of the future. That's the life of the future. All these things that you see now with everybody's head buried down here. I remember walking through San Francisco in 1998, and I saw the Sony store with a bunch of computers lined up, and that's when it hit me. I said, it's about brainwaves. That's where people's heads are going to be. And that's when I was launching for the first time really truly fully into the expansion of the internet. So
Yeah.
it's an incredible time, and this is an incredible project, Daniele. It's super exciting to work on it with you and be part of every one of these incredible business opportunities and use cases and building them out.
Yeah, congratulations, Daniele. We've got to wrap up now. Very exciting, FusionFunder.com. Go there, check it out. And Tim, we need you to say your saying at the end here.
I'd like everybody to remember to stay safe, stay healthy, and definitely stay digital. Those numbers are going down, so keep staying digital. And after they're gone, and after we're through this, stay digital.
Exactly.
That's where it's at. So have a great weekend, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us today. It's been exciting to launch this with you, Daniele, and all of our Fusion Funder innovators. These are truly innovators in the world. It's a blessing, and I'm very grateful to be part of it.
It's a great honor for me as well. Thank you very much.
Great, exciting. Thanks, everybody. Have a great weekend.
Take care.